Hi guys, welcome back to Ash Talks Basketball, and today I'm comparing my all-time top 10 players to Chat-GPT's top 10 players. I've done this a little while ago, my top 10 players, but I was really interested to see what Chat-GPT would choose. And we have pretty different lists, and I'm going to compare them here today. In at 10th, I have Steph Curry, and Chat-GPT chose Kobe. On my side, you've got Steph Curry. Once his career ends, it will be easier to judge him, but I still think he's one of the greatest players of all time. He revolutionized the league with the three-point era, won multiple chips, first unanimous MVP. Some people don't have him on the top 10, but for how much he's done for this league, I think he deserves a spot. And on the other side of the spectrum, you've got Kobe in at 10th. I think that's a bit too low for him. Won multiple championships with the Lakers, a Lakers legend, played with Shaq, Pau Gasol, and is one of the most determined players ever. A great scorer and defender, and I just believe he has to be a little bit higher on the list. In at 9, I have Wilt Chamberlain, and Chat-GPT chose Tim Duncan. On my side, I think Wilt's one of the greatest players ever, and he was an amazing scorer, but I just think he was playing in too early of an era, and it's hard to compare him to people who played in the 2010s and the 1990s, because I just think there was a large skill gap between the eras, and he even struggled to win championships. Although he was going up against people like Bill Russell, I just don't think I can put him as high as I want to because the gap, and it's really hard to judge someone like that. He was so skilled, but how skilled were the people he was playing against? And on the other side, Chat-GPT selected Tim Duncan, but I just think it's too low again. Multiple championships, Spurs legend, the best power forward of all time, has to be higher on the list in my opinion. In at 8th, I've got Bill Russell, and Chat-GPT selected Hakeem Olajuwon. On my side, I think Bill Russell has to be on the list. One of the greatest players of all time, most rings won ever. He only person to ever win a ring as a player coach at the same time, and his dominance has to be included. Although it's in an easier era, I just can't leave him out. And on the other side, I didn't personally include Hakeem or Larry Bird, but they were really close honourable mentions. Hakeem's one of the greatest shot blockers of all time and dominated the year Jordan left the league for baseball in Houston. One of the greatest players of all time, and probably would be on this list if not for Jordan. In at 7, me and Chat-GPT shared Shaquille O'Neal, possibly the most dominant player of all time, helped Kobe win championships, helped Dwayne Wade win a championship, one of the greatest centers of all time, and no questions asked, he is definitely on this list. In at 6th, I've got Tim Duncan, and Chat-GPT has Wilt Chamberlain. Tim Duncan's one of the most dominant power forwards of all time, personally the best power forward of all time, helped the Spurs win multiple championships throughout the 2000s and the 2010s, and I don't think you can argue he is one of the best players of all time. And on the other side, you've got Wilt Chamberlain, possibly one of the most dominant players along with Shaq. I understand why he's so high on this list, but I did drop him down personally because he did play in the 1960s, and I think that does affect because there was a large skill gap between that and something like the 90s or the 2010s. In at 5 spot, I've got Magic, and Chat-GPT has Larry Bird. On my side, you've got Magic. Although people might think he's a bit low, I still think he's one of the best players of all time, but there's 4 really skilled people above him. Kobe could be an argument for being lower than him, but I'm going to stick with him. Magic Johnson still remains to be one of the best players of all time, one of the best rookie playoff runs we've ever seen, helped Kareem to another championship and won multiple of his own. I can't argue, he is one of the best players of all time, possibly even top 4, you could argue. And on the other side, you've got Larry Bird, a great player, one of the best three-point shooters of his time. But my argument for him not being on this list is I just don't think he played enough. His career was cut short by injuries and didn't play as many years as you would want him to. And he just didn't win as many championships because the last few years were cut short by Jordan. In at 4, I have Kobe. I've already talked about him, one of the greatest scorers of all time and one of the biggest dedications to the game I've ever seen. And Magic Johnson, talked about him, one of the greatest players of all time, helped Kareem to a championship and won multiple of his own, can't argue, an amazing player. At 3, me and Chat-Gpt both chose Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of the greatest players of all time, greatest center of all time, known for his skyhook, dominated in the 70s, winning multiple championships in Milwaukee and the Lakers. Can't argue, one of the best scorers of all time and easily top 3 all time, no questions asked. In its second, me and Chat-Gpt also shared this, LeBron James. He might take over MJ someday, but right now I think he sits firmly at second. You could talk about this for days on end, but I just think MJ has the slight edge. But one thing MJ doesn't have is an in-season tournament championship. Okay, I was joking there. Both great players, but right now I give MJ the edge, and so did Chat-Gpt. And in at first, the GOAT, MJ. One the best player of all time, in my opinion. LeBron might take him over soon, but right now MJ sits firmly in this place. One of the best defensive guards of all time, one of the best scorers of all time, led the Bulls to 6 championships. You can't argue with his dominance. And I have nothing left to say. MJ is the GOAT.